Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets by J.K. Rowling. Chapter 8. The Deathday Party. October arrived, spreading all damp chill all over the grounds and into the castle. Madame Pomfrey, the matron, was kept busy by a sudden spat of colds among the staff and students. Her pepper-up potion worked instantly, though it left the drinker smoking at the ears for several hours afterwards. Ginny Weasley, who had been looking peaky, was bullied into taking some by Percy. The steam pouring from under her withered hair gave the impression that her whole head was on fire. Raindrops the size of bullets thundered on the castle windows for days on end. The day grows. The flower beds turned into muddy streams, and Hagrid's pumpkins wheeled to the side of garden sheds. Oliver Wood's enthusiasm for regular training sessions, however, was not dampened, which was why Harry was to be found late one stormy Saturday afternoon after a few days before Halloween, returning to Gryffindor Tower, drenched to the skin and spattered with mud. Even aside from the train and wind, it had been a happy practice session. Fred and George, who had been spying on the Slytherin team, had seen for themselves the speed of those Nimbus 2001s. They reported that the Slytherin team were no more than 7 greenish blurs shooting through the air like jumpets. As Harry squeaked along the deserted corridor, he came across somebody who looked just as preoccupied as he was. Nearly headless Nick, the ghost of Gryffindor Tower, was staring morosely out of the window, muttering under his breath, "Don't fulfill the requirements. Half an inch, if that." "Hello, Nick," said Harry. Hello, said nearly headless Nick, starting and looking around. He wore a dashing plumed hat on his long curly hair and a tunic with a ruff which concealed the fact that his neck was almost completely severed. He was pale as he spoke, and Harry could see right through him to the dark sky and torrential rain outside. "You look troubled, young Potter," said Nick, folding a transparent letter as he spoke and tucking it inside his doublet. "So do you," said Harry. Nearly headless Nick waved an elegant hand. "A matter of no importance. It's not as though I really wanted to join. Though I'd apply, but apparently I don't fulfill requirements." In spite of his airy tone, there was a look of the great bitterness on his face. "But you would think, wouldn't you?" he erupted, suddenly pulling the letter back out of his pocket, "that getting hit 45 times in the neck with a blunt axe worth quality do you join the headless hunt?" "Oh, yes," said Harry, who was obviously supposed to agree. "I mean, nobody wishes more than I do that it had been all quick and clean, and my head had come off properly. I mean, it would have saved me a great deal of pain and ridicule." However, nearly headless Nick shook his letter open and read furiously, "We can only accept huntsmen whose heads have parted company with their bodies. You will appreciate that it would be impossible otherwise for members to participate in a hunt, activities such as horseback head juggling and head polo. It is with the greatest regret, therefore, that I must inform you that you do not fulfill all the requirements. With very best wishes, Sir Patrick Delaney Pottermore." Fleming, nearly headless Nick, stuffed the letter away. "Half an inch of skin and sinew holding my neck on, Harry. Most people would think that's good and be had it, but oh no, it's not enough for Sir properly decapitated Pottermore." Nearly headless Nick took several deep breaths and then said in a far calmer tone, "So, what's bothering you? Anything I can do?" "No," said Harry. "Not unless you know where we can get 7 free Nimbus 2001s for our Metroglance The rest of Harry's sentence was drawn by a high-pitched mewing from somewhere near his ankles. He looked down and found himself gazing into a pair of lamp-like yellow eyes. It was Mrs. Norris, the scattered great cat who was used by the caretaker, Argus Filch, as a sort of deputy in his enters better against students. "You'd better get out of here, Harry," said Nick quickly. "Filch is in a good mood. He's got flu and some third years accidentally plastered frog brains all over the ceiling in Dungeon 5. He's been cleaning all morning. If he sees you dripping mud all over the place..." "Right," said Harry, backing away from the accusing stare of Mrs. Norris, but not quickly enough. Drawn to the spot by a mysterious power that seemed to connect with his full cat, Argus Filch burst suddenly through a tapestry to Harry's right, wheezing and looking wildly about for their rule breaker. There was a thick tartan scarf bound around his head, and his nose was unusually purple. "Filth!" he shouted, his jowls aquire, his eyes popping alarmingly as he pointed at the muddy puddle that had ridden from Harry's Quidditch robes. "Mess and muck everywhere! I had enough of it, I tell you. Follow me, Potter." So Harry waved a gloomy goodbye for nearly headless Nick and followed Filch back downstairs, doubling the number of muddy footprints on the floor. Harry had never been inside Filch's office before. It was a place most students avoided. The room was dingy and windowless, lit by a single oil lamp dangling from the low ceiling. A faint smell of fried fish lingered about the place. Wooden filling cabinets stood around the walls. From the labels, Harry could see that they contained details of every pupil Filch had ever punished. Fred and George Weasley had an entire drawer to themselves. A highly polished collection of chains and manacles hung on the wall behind Filch's desk. It was common knowledge that he was always begging Dumbledore to let him suspend students by their ankles from the ceiling. Filch grabbed a quill from the spot on his desk and began snuffling around looking for parchment. "Dung!" he muttered furiously. "Great siggling dragon bodies, frog brains, rat intestines. I haven't enough of it. Make an example. Where's the form? Yes." He retrieved a large roll of parchment from his desk drawer and stretched it out in front of him, dipping his long black quill into the inkpot. "Name, Harry Potter. Crime." "It was only a bit of mud," said Harry. "It's only a bit of mud to you, boy, but to me it's extra hours scrubbing," shouted Filch, a drip shivering unpleasantly at the end of Bilbo's nose. "Crime. Befalling the castle," suggested sentence. Dabbing at his streaming nose, Filch squinted unpleasantly at Harry, who waited with bated breath for the sentence to fall. But as Filch lowered his quill, there was a great bang on the ceiling office, which made the audio ramp. "Peeves!" Filch roared, flinging down his quill in transport of rage. "I'll have you this time! I'll have you!" And without a backwards glance at Harry, Filch ran fluted from the office, Mr. Snorri seeking alongside him. Peace with the school Portuguese, a grinning airborne menace who lived to cause havoc and distress. Harry didn't much like Peeves, but couldn't help feeling grateful for his timing. Hopefully, whatever Peeves had done, and it sounded as though he'd wrecked something very big this time, would distract Filch from Harry. Thinking that he should probably wait for Filch to come back, Harry sank into a moth-eaten chair next to the desk. There was only one thing to do, a part of his completed form. A large, glossy purple envelope with silver lettering on the front. With a quick glance at the door to check that Filch wasn't on his way back, Harry picked up the envelope and read, "Quick spell. A correspondence curse and beginner's magic." Intrigued, Harry flicked the envelope open and pulled out the sheaf of parchment inside. More curly circle writing on the front page said, "Feel out of step in the world of modern magic? Find yourself making excuses not to perform simple spells? Even ever been taunted for your willful hand walk? There is an answer. Quick spell is all new, fail-safe, quick result, easy learn curse. Hundreds of witches and wizards have benefited from this quick spell method. Madame Z, Nettles of Topshop writes, I have no memory for incantations, and my potions were a family joke. Now, after a quick spell curse, I'm the center of attention at parties, and friends beg for the recipe of my Skeletanyan solution. Wardlock DJ, proud of debauchery, says, My wife used to sneer at my feeble charms, but one month into a fabulous quick spell curse, I succeeded in turning her into a yuck. Thank you, quick spell. Fascinated, Harry thumbed through the rest of the envelope's contents. Why on earth did Filch want a quick spell curse? Did he mean that he wasn't a proper wizard? Harry was just reading lesson 1, holding your wands and useful tips, when shuffling footsteps outside told him Filch was coming back. Stuffing the parchment back into the envelope, Harry threw it back onto the desk just as the door opened. Filch was looking triumphant. The vanishing cabinet was extremely valuable, he was saying greedily to Mrs. Norris. We'll have peace out this time, my sweet. His eyes fell on Harry and then darted to the quick spell envelope, which Harry realized too late was lying 2 feet away from where it had started. Filch's pasty face went brick red. Harry braced himself for a tidal wave on Furry, which hobbled across his desk, snatched up the envelope and threw it into a drawer. Did you read? He sputtered. No? Harry lied quickly. Filch's snobbly hands were twisting together. I thought you read my private. Now that it's mine for a friend, but that isn't my... However, Harry was staring at him, alarmed. Filch had never looked better. His eyes were popping. A tick was going in one of his bulgy cheeks, and the tartan scarf didn't help.